and we're getting reports of a plane crash in the World Trade Center in New York. You can see the pictures there. It's one of New York's tallest buildings. That's all the information we know at the moment, but as you can see, it is a considerable collision and there is a large fire. That's all the information we have at the moment, but we'll be back with more details in just a short while at the top of the hour. As we come on air, we have serious news of a major possible air crash in the United States. A plane appears to have crashed into one of New York's tallest buildings, the World Trade Center. As you can see, those are pictures of smoke pouring out of a gaping hole in the upper floors of the World Trade Center. It is in the downtown area of Manhattan and is one of the most heavily populated office buildings in New York. All we know at this moment is that there has been a plane crash in the morning time in New York. The plane smashed into one of the twin towers of the New York World Trade Center about half an hour ago. That's the information that we've got. And you can see the smoke and flames billowing from the building. One eyewitness said that it was a twin-engine plane, possibly a 737, which flew straight into the World Trade Center. It's believed that some bits of the plane may still be embedded in the building. For viewers who are just joining us at the top of the hour, we're watching pictures of smoke billowing out of the World Trade Center in New York, the result of a plane crash, it's believed, which took place about half an hour ago in New York. An eyewitness said there was a huge explosion. They thought, in fact, that the blast had come from inside. Pictures, as I said, of the World Trade Center on fire as a result of a plane crash into the upper stories of one of the tallest buildings in New York. We have no immediate word at the moment on injuries or fatalities in the disaster. It happened shortly before 9 a.m. local time. One eyewitness said the plane was coming in low and it looked like it hit at a slight angle. Large holes are visible in two sides of the building. It's a 110-story building, one of the landmark twin towers in the southern part of Manhattan. If you're just joining us, we're watching pictures of the World Trade Center on fire in New York, the result of a plane crash by what's thought to have been a twin-engine plane, possibly a 737, which appears to have flown directly into the World Trade Center, flying low. No news at the moment of injuries or fatalities. As you can see, there's a considerable fire there. We've got two large holes on two sides of the World Trade Center. It's a 110-story building. Let's get the latest now. The BBC's Jim Fish joins me. Jim, what can you tell us?
Well, very few more details than what you've already said, Nisha. All we know is that it's described as a passenger plane. We don't know how many passengers it was carrying. It does seem to have entered the trade tower very high up, and there are gaping holes on both sides of the tower. It looks as if it's penetrated right through the structure of it. We don't know precisely how many floors are affected. We don't know the number of casualties or injuries, but it is quite clearly a major disaster.
It's the North Tower of New York's World Trade Center, which we're looking at the moment, ablaze with thick smoke coming out of two sides of the building, the result of a plane crash by what's thought to be a twin-engined jet plane, possibly a 737. The accident is reported to have taken place at 9 a.m. local time. Joining us now on the phone from New York is Steve Evans, who was, I believe, in the building at the time. Steve, what can you tell us about what happened this morning?
People are running away very, very quickly. There are more explosions further down the building. It was calm until we came on the air now, but I'm now looking up at this building, and there is smoke billowing from the very top, but then there is a fire and an explosion about 20 stories further down. I was at the base of the building when it happened. There was one huge bang, the building physically shook, then another 2 or 3 bangs, and the building again shook, and people came screaming past me.
At the moment, it looks as if both buildings are on fire.
Clearly the thing is out of control. As I say, there is smoke billowing out from further and further down the building, and people are simply moving back. They don't know what has happened. Initially, the assumption was that it was a bomb. People have been coming past me now saying, no, it was an aircraft which hit the building. More than that, I cannot say, apart from to tell you that people here are very, very frightened. People are crying. People are shaking. They've stopped running away from the building. They are now walking away. There is moisture raining down from a clear sky. I only presume that comes from the disaster which is going on above me as I speak.
It must be a very busy scene, Steve. Are there a lot of people there?
Well, there are a lot of people. The man whose phone it is asking me, he's evacuating the shop, and I have to get off, I'm afraid, because he wants his phone back, and we have to leave. I'll stay with it here. There are people who are very, very frightened. Clearly, this is a very high, it is one of the tallest buildings in the world. There is an uncontrollable event involving explosions and fire going on above us. People simply don't know what's happening. An awful lot of people are just getting as far away as they possibly can.
Steve Evans, thank you for joining us from the World Trade Center. So clearly chaos there. The explosions still continuing. At the moment, it's not really clear whether there was a plane crash or exactly what went on, Jim.
Well, we are getting reports that a twin-engined jet airliner was the aircraft involved. That hasn't been confirmed. That is coming from an eyewitness. In terms of we are seeing both, it seems that both towers are affected by this. It could be that the aircraft went through one, right through, and the debris has affected the other tower as well. Obviously, what we don't know is what the emergency services are managing to do. There are, surprisingly at the moment, no signs of helicopters around the towers. Maybe that means that the emergency services are already on the spot within the tower, but that, by the look of the damage there, they will have great difficulty getting within range of that fire inside the towers, 110 stories high. The right-hand tower, it looks like the top 10 or possibly even more stories are affected. Lower down on the left-hand tower, it could be even more stories are affected.
If you've just joined us, we're just looking at pictures from the World Trade Center in New York, which is ablaze as a result of a plane crash, a plane flying in low, which went into one of the towers, possibly both of the towers, because clearly now both of them are on fire. You can see extensive damage there. This accident took place about half an hour ago at 9 a.m. local time in New York. The World Trade Centers are very busy office blocks, and as you can see, the fires are still raging. We heard from an eyewitness a short while ago that people were very frightened and running from the scene, and that the explosions there were still out of control, that explosions were still taking place at the World Trade Center as a result of this plane crash. There's some reports too, unconfirmed, that a second plane might also have crashed into the World Trade Center. Jim Fish is here with me in the studio. It's interesting that we're not seeing any rescue helicopters at the moment, isn't it, Jim?
Yes. Now, we can only assume that there are emergency operations going on inside those towers as we speak. Of course, they were built to rigorous safety specifications. They will have systems which can enable them to reach an accident, a disaster of this kind, very high up. These were the world's tallest buildings when they were constructed. They are no longer, but they are among the world's tallest. So there will be systems in place there, emergency backup systems. Even if the lifts are not working, there will be mechanical ways in which they can at least try to approach the scene of the accident. But it is surprising at the moment that there are no helicopters around, flying around there, possibly trying to get at the seat of the accident.
We've got some pictures that have also just come in of a second plane crashing into the other tower at World Trade Center. You can see a huge explosion there. So a double plane accident at the World Trade Center in New York this morning, 9 o'clock in the morning, at a very busy time, at a very busy set of tower blocks. It is in the downtown area of Manhattan and is one of the most heavily populated office buildings in New York. All we know at this moment is that there has been a plane crash in the morning time. And we're getting reports of a plane crash in the World Trade Center in New York. You can see the pictures there. It's one of New York's tallest buildings. That's all the information we know at the moment. But as you can see, it is a considerable collision and there is a large fire. That's all the information we have at the moment, but we'll be back with more details in just a short while at the top of the hour. As we come on air, we have serious news of a major possible air crash time in New York. The plane smashed into one of the twin towers of the New York World Trade Center about half an hour ago. That's the information that we've got. And you can see the smoke and flames billowing from the building. One eyewitness said that it was a twin in the United States. A plane appears to have crashed into one of New York's tallest buildings, the World Trade Center. As you can see, those are pictures of smoke pouring out of a gaping hole in the upper floors of the World Trade Center.